Are you ready?
There's no crying in baseball!
You think you can tell us what to do?
Alrighty then.
Think you could tell us what to wear?
Alright.
Think that you're better?
Just a bit outside.
You can't handle the truth.
And here we go.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Morning Heaters. Morning Heaters, a Performance Edge podcast. March is here. Baseball is back. That's right. College baseball is underway. High school baseball is underway. With or without COVID, we are marching through this season. Thank God. It has been a good week, and for those of you who are baseball fans, I know you're excited. Spring training's under the way. College baseball, like I said, is back. High school baseball is back, and we are getting this done. I'm absolutely fired up. How about you guys?
It's that time of year. It's just that time of year. After having a short season last year, college baseball never really got off the ground in a sense. High school baseball, you played a tournament and a half, and that was it. It was shut down. So these guys were itching to get out there and kind of represent their schools. And from a college standpoint, I mean, it's a mess as it is, log jam, backed up. But no one cares. They're excited to play. They're happy to be out there. And it was nice to actually see some games on TV. Follow some guys on D1Baseball.com, which is a website I use.
I re-up my subscription.
It's just one of those things that it's you get to follow your guys, man, and it's hard to do, especially when you can't watch them on TV. Yeah. But Longhorn Network had their series on.
Yeah. How about Ty Madden the other night?
Oh man, that guy was just filthy, unhittable for.
Probably no hitter in the seventh.
And brought it into the seventh, walked a guy, hit a guy.
Ty Madden, 11 strikeouts, 1 hit, no hitter into the seventh inning, no runs allowed. Last week, a little rusty up at Globe Life. A little shaky, and everybody was like, oh no, this is that. And then just shut up.
Yeah, velocity was good for 7 innings. He's
a dude.
He was sitting there, in between, 92, 94, I think touching 95, maybe a 6 in there somewhere.
Yeah. Jordan Gokenauer, 3 bombs on the weekend.
Who?
Jordan Gokenauer. Huh?
Yeah, that guy. No, it was good. He actually going up against a team that has several of our guys in there, Performance Edge guys, and so that rivalry was already kind of stemming from the summer.
Yep.
But
3 bombs and 1 good bat flip.
UT Tyler coming on strong
so far.
Yeah.
Opened up though.
Are they eligible this year?
No. They did get credit for the COVID year, if you want to call it that, but they're not eligible this year for the playoffs. So their job is just to wreck it for everybody else. And so far they did.
They're doing a good job so far.
It was good. I went out there, went to Austin, watched some games, and just to be there and part as a fan, and just the energy of it was really exciting. High school baseball under the way, high school baseball tournaments. I know the kids are fired up. Really excited to get back into that. I'm glad the weather opened up for them to get that done. I mean, we come off a 125-year winter storm, right? So guys are down for 8 days, freezing, cold, pipes busting, thinking like, here we go again. And not this time. Baseball gods allowed it to happen, and it was crazy watching these guys scramble. But man, I'll tell you what, it was fun. Even in the high school home runs, like hitters are ahead of pitchers right now in high school ball, dude. Like there was absolute mammoth shots. I love getting the text messages, look at my score line, look at my video. It's fun. It's exciting, and everybody forgets that a lot of these guys for this, they missed last year, but for this last weekend, nobody cared about getting recruited. Nobody cared anything but other than going out there and playing the game. And I was a fan of it. That's what I'm excited about. So I love it. Absolutely couldn't be thrilled anymore for that. Real quick, I want to jump into a topic before we go to our interview. One of the topics, we're getting a lot of questions and a lot of texts, a lot of parents. The last few weeks I've been meeting with a lot of parents on this and answering phone calls, and you guys have as well. A lot of people asking, what should we do this summer? Should we play summer select ball? Should we, how do we select our team? What's going on with that? Should we train? Should we not? So I kind of want to address that real quick and give everybody my thoughts, and even including collegiate ball, right? Should I play summer collegiate league, right? Again, for me, it goes down to the reason, what's your why? Okay. And one of the things is that if you're looking to be recruited, if college baseball is your ultimate goal, at whatever level that may be, right? Why are you playing summer ball? All right. Why are you playing high school baseball? All right. There's a reason why. So as it goes into what team you should play for, no matter who it is, Why should you play for that organization? And what are you looking to get in return? There is a purpose that summer select, summer travel ball, showcase ball, however you want to say it, it has a purpose and a very good purpose. For you as an individual, are you ready for it? Okay, so I'm going to kind of go down a couple of, just circumstances here. You guys just jump in whenever you want to. So should I play summer select ball, showcase ball? Well, one, what's your reason? And I think a couple of reasons you should play. Number one, if you are a guy who is looking to be recruited.
Number one.
Right? Number one, I'm looking to be recruited. I'm looking for exposure. I want to pitch in front of colleges. Great. I think the first thing that you should ask when it comes to the specific team that you're playing for, or if you should play at all, is, are you recruitable? So if you're playing with the intentions of being recruited, are you recruitable? Okay. If the answer is yes, you know it, you have the stats, the data, the proof, like you are a college player, go play. Absolutely. It's a perfect time for you. That could be in the 8th grade. That could be senior year, right? Somebody's phone's ringing right now. We'll just keep rolling, right? Are you recruitable? Okay. If the answer is no, maybe you should think about that. Maybe you should consider another option. Maybe you should consider another alternative, right? If that's the team that you're playing for. The team is traveling all over the country. Okay. We're going to Florida. We're going to Georgia. We're going to California, Arizona. I don't know if California is going to be playing much. Actually, I think they are. They are playing some events out there right now.
Just depends on where you are. NorCal is going. SoCal is not.
Really?
Everybody else is coming to Vegas to play right now.
Vegas, baby?
But even Vegas event, like Hunter plays. My kid plays volleyball. Their event got pushed back. In Vegas, so they're still kind of trickling in. You know what I mean? It's
Wouldn't that suck to instead of going to California, you have to spend a weekend in Vegas?
Yeah. But Vegas,
maybe I should be playing recruit summer ball.
They're still backing it up though. They're
coaching the team.
We're
going to Vegas.
I talked to an organization last week. They try to work out for the first time since all this went down, and they got shut down by the city. Police show up out there. It's like, you can't be on the field. Sorry,
Yeah. So I mean, back to it. It's nothing. It's not a knock on anybody. If your intentions are to be recruited and you're not recruitable, you may want to second guess that and think, because there's nothing. I always love it when parents and people, kids, they get mad at the team they play for because they didn't help them get exposure, and it's like, dude, they gave you exposure. All right, you got exposed. I didn't get recruited from that team. Well, you're not recruitable. It's not the team's fault. Now, they gave you an opportunity and it didn't work out. So that's one of the reasons, to stop and kind of think maybe it's not. And by the way, I think that could be me. It is. Sorry about that. Next thing, I'm going to go with competing, right? If you're a guy who, when we ask you, hey, why are you playing summer ball? If you say, because I love to compete, I love to play the game, I want to get out there. I like the dirt beneath my cleats. Right? I don't like the turf, the indoor mound. I like to get out there and throw. I want to see my stuff work. I can get behind that. I can. However, there is the other side of that. How many innings are you going to get? Right? Can you manage it? Can you talk to your coach and get on where you pitch every Thursday or every Friday, every Saturday? That way you can have a schedule all summer to where you can pitch and you can train. You can develop. This matters. Do you have to go out there and sit every single game? Or do they allow pitchers to show up on game day and when they do their job and go home? Some do, some don't. All right, I have mixed feelings about both sides of it, right? So you need to do what's best for you as an individual. And again, so do the select organizations. They do what they do well. And they are really, really good. When they have talent to show out, they are really good at contacting coaches for you. They know how to get them there, right? But these organizations send kids to certain schools and they match them up because they belong there from a tools and talent standpoint. They're not faking it. They're not fudging numbers. They're not fudging players in there, right? The guys who go and play there belong there. Are you ready for that? And then I would say it comes down to finances.
I'll say this: the belongs with the number 2 group. Those guys that maybe got hurt or coming back from injuries, ACL repairs, didn't play the previous year. They need to log in at bats, especially on the hitting side. Those guys need to play. Because they've been out like the guys last year. You think about what happened last year in the summer select scene. They played more in the summer than they did. The previous year.
Yeah, we did.
Because it was a summer 5-day week, type event, and that's a little bit different. But however, they didn't have a high school season. Yeah,
no, I mean, and we always talk about from hitters, it's the same thing. If you need ABs, the summertime is a great time to do it. Do I think you need to travel to Georgia and Florida to do that if you're not necessarily ready to be recruited? Spend that money? No, I don't. However, it's there. One of the things too is so people don't think I'm just a Georgia and Florida hater, because I'm not. some of it is the experience too of going to Florida, which I think some of these young guys need. They need to go pitch out there in a minor league stadium and get some better competition and see what happens. I think that's part of the growing up process. Do you need to do it every weekend or 3 or 4 times a summer and spend the money? No. Again, I don't know. I mean, if you just got that kind of money in cash, go do it. I don't blame you. If you love going to Florida, if that's your ideal vacation, and that's your reason why, then go do it. But again, I when people come in here and it's not like when they're knocking select organizations and, well, this guy didn't help me get recruited. It's like, dude, you got an 82-mile-an-hour fastball. That's why you weren't recruited. It had nothing to do with the 12. It had nothing to do with Marucci. You're not recruitable, period. Right? There's a reason why you're on the purple team. Think about that. So in there, if you're on the purple team or the yellow team of any organization, by the way, if you're on a team where the colors aren't, right? If your team colors are black and gray and you're on the pink team, may want to reconsider that a little bit. It's not their fault. Right? And again, it's not a knock. It's just take the time that you need to develop. And that's what they're giving you there. They know you're not ready to be recruited, and they probably told you that at some point too. We're going to put you on this team so you can play and get some innings in. You just don't want to believe it. That's where I'm at on it. It's not that hard of a decision, right? And that's what you know. Sometimes I get it too, but the reason why I like the summer as an opportunity to take steps forward is we always talk about whether you're a hitter or a pitcher or whatever, is that the flip side of it is if you chose not to, if you weren't ready to be recruited and you talk to the organization, right? And they have a great fall. A lot of these organizations now have great fall schedules to play in, right? What if you took 3 or 4 months in the summer to focus on you and then you went and spent that money and traveled on the fall, right?
It'd be a lot less expensive.
That's true.
No 5-day events in the fall.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if you're a 7'2", 7'2" runner, you're an outfielder, junior, senior in high school, spend a couple of months working on some strength, some form, some speed work, get it down to a sub-7, maybe you got a chance. All right, if you're 83, 84 from the right side, sure, go play summer select ball. I don't know where you're going to go play. The other thing of it is one thing you have to consider, the team that you're playing for, with your skill set and your tools as a hitter or a pitcher, are the tournaments that you're going to play in, are the colleges that you have the ability to play at, are they going to be at those events? That's all things to keep in mind. So for me, I always tell players to write out your goals. What is your ultimate goal? Boom. College baseball, whatever level. So when you make a decision, does that help you reach your goal? If it does, play. If it doesn't, if it hinders it, don't play. It's that simple. There's plenty of guys, they're going to fill the rosters with or without you. They know that, right? I mean, like I said, I think our summer select ball, as much as everybody can jump on it, at the same time, it does a great job. There's a lot of opportunity out there. You need to be ready for that opportunity.
If you can pay it, you can play it.
That's right.
That's what
and they're doing their job, right? There's a reason why they have to have 4 or 5 teams. Because think about it. If all these organizations didn't have a 3rd, 4th, or 5th team, there'd be a lot of kids that just weren't playing the game. And sometimes a lot of these kids who are on that 3rd or 4th team as freshmen and sophomores, they do have the opportunity to develop out and take it. But I always say focus on you, right? Focus on you as the individual in the summertime and what do you need? What's your reason why? That's my take on it. So if you're wanting to compete, get it. Are you getting a return on it? That matters. And recruiting. Perfect opportunity in the summer. Are you recruitable? Are you ready for exposure or are you just getting exposed? If you're ready, go play. If you need help, I'll advise you to multiple organizations, great organizations in Houston. If you're not ready, I have another idea for you. As simple as that. All right, so we have a great guest coming in here. Did this interview not too long ago with Toronto Blue Jays pitcher Ross Stripling. I'm a big fan of Ross Stripling, having worked with Ross in the past and just knowing him personally. He's an incredible guy, highly intelligent. He is the smartest guy in the room or smartest guy in the facility and walks in. A licensed, what did I say?
Stockbroker.
Yeah, licensed stockbroker. Sorry, I lost there. Licensed stockbroker. I mean, the dude's already preparing for retirement with that, right? But the reason why, and I want everybody to make sure you listen to this, so whether you're a youth, high school player, college, professional, a parent, listen to what he's saying. Listen to the words that a professional athlete is saying. And
his story, and that's what's incredible. His story is incredible. That's, to me, just...
Yeah. I mean, everybody thinks, oh, right, he's pitching for the Blue Jays. He got drafted by the Dodgers. He was A&M. Everything's come easy to this big guy. It wasn't.
Yeah.
He had to walk on at Texas A&M. He had to walk into Coach Childress' office and ask for an opportunity, only because his dad made him go.
Right.
And he says it. He was going to quit baseball because basically his family was part, of the Colt. He had to go to A&M. I mean, that was it. And so he said that I wasn't willing to sacrifice my opportunity to go to be a student at A&M to go play JUCO ball. He was going. And he walked in, and thank God Rob is an intelligent, smart guy, knows how to see him when they walk in and gave him the opportunity. Otherwise, we would not be talking to Ross Stripling. But he took a chance on himself, went in there, walked in, and the rest is history. So it wasn't always as easy.
Now he's an all-star.
Now he's an all-star, yeah. He's a Toronto Blue Jay. And so a lot of people can get that. He's going to dive into analytics and how it applies to him. Me and Ross are going to be talking about MLB data and analytics and how it applies to high school athletes in training. Right? And I really like that segment of how we like to use it here, how he likes it used. He gives his feedback and thoughts on it. So for any of you guys thinking about things like Rapsodo, K-Vest, 4D motion, blast motion, all these things, the radar gun, right? We're going to dive into it, and it's a really cool bit right there. Also, I want to definitely give him a shout out. His son, Jackson, was born recently. Baby's healthy. Mama's doing great. He's a dad. Now he's getting ready to go to spring training. He stayed behind to be here for the birth of his son, and really, really fired up for him for that. Exciting stuff. But, man, if this kind of stuff, and look, I know the listeners, I know you love the passion and the arguments on this, but these kind of interviews, the reason why we do them is to hear a guy who's a professional who's actually doing it to give you feedback. Listen to the words that he's saying, and I'm thrilled. So, yeah. Anybody? Anything else?
I think one of my, one of the better parts about Ross is his ability to, have that on and off switch, on and off the field, right? Off the field, he's such a great person, but on the field, he's a fiery competitor with murderer's eyes.
I think people start to realize that's a lot of them, like who they are. He gives a bit where he talks about Rich Hill, and the only reason why I know anything about Rich Hill off the field is because of Ross, right? And being teammates. When you see Rich Hill on the field, he is just a maniac, right? He's competing. He's swearing, he's doing what he has to do, but off the field, he is an incredible human being in the things that he does, and what he spends time on raising money and research is for foundations. And he has a reason why in his story. Ross is going to dive into that. And we don't know these guys, but they learn how to do this. They learn how to compete. And that's why I think it's so important for high school and parents, high school athletes and parents to understand and get in this mind. Take whatever you hear with a grain of salt and understand it, but apply something that a professional athlete, a big league athlete is saying. Take what we're doing every day, training and working with these guys. Just take some of it and try to apply it. Again, if you have any questions, reach out to us. Looking forward to meeting some of you new listeners soon. Get in here, get your evaluation. For those of you out there, keep grinding, keep going. Looking forward to it. Send us your videos. Very excited again. MLB is on the way. College baseball has started up. High school baseball.
Watched my first spring training game today.
Yeah,
the Bravos were playing against who was it? Boston. Yeah, JetBlue Park. It was cool to see. Just first game in a while that I've actually sat there and watched, and
yeah, it's fun.
I was excited about it.
Yeah, I'm not ready to make my World Series predictions yet.
There's a lot of movement though. A lot of different guys at different locations. That's what's this year's going to be a little bit. Kind of catch up time for me. Who's where now?
Same face, new place.
Yep.
It's going to be exciting. So, anybody want to lay bets on who's going to win the NL West?
We said we're not ready for that yet.
Okay, NL West. I'll take the Dodgers. Just go ahead.
Of course you will.
I'll put $5 on the Dodgers.
Hard. Right.
Yeah. Without that, let's turn it over to our interview now with Mr. Ross Stripling. Cool guest today, man. We got MLB pitcher Mr. Ross Stripling joining us. Ross, how are you doing, man?
Spivey, what's up, dude? I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Morning Heaters. I love the name, love the podcast. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is going to be fun, man. And we'll just kind of dive right into it. For those of you who don't know Ross, Ross is a pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. And he is an Aggie. I'm sure we get to talk about that a little bit today. And also, I mean, you have a pretty successful podcast yourself, man. How's that going?
You know what? It's a blast, man. It really is. Have had the opportunity to talk to really amazing athletes and people, that I never thought I would be able to get on there. We started 2 years ago. We're a little over 100 episodes now. And as you'll learn, man, you get better as you go and you get more comfortable. and you stop saying as much, and it's just free and easy to get an hour of content. And I feel like our first one was 15 minutes, and it felt like a day, and it just was so hard to keep the conversation going. But it's called the Big Swing Podcast. I do it with one of my, and we talk mostly baseball, but we try and mix into other sports and pop culture as much as we can. It's a blast, man. As you know, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a big fan of it. I like listening, and it may be one of the reasons why. I mean, I've always wanted to do the podcast and get it out there, and I started listening to yours, and I'm like, why not? It's just, you sound like you're having a blast, man, when you're on there, just talking about the game and interviewing these people.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. How often do you really get to put your phone down for an hour and, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on the morning heaters, but shoot the shit, and just enjoy being around someone and talking about their craft, whether it is baseball, specifically in baseball, is it pitching and hitting? Like, you have a niche with the kind of modern analytical side of baseball. And if you bring in an old school guy like a Rich Hill, like I've done on my podcast, and you get him just going down an absolute bender on how much he hates analytics, you're going to create a pretty fun podcast episode. And I know you well enough to know you're a good conversationalist, and I have a feeling this podcast is going to be a success.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cool part about it is that knowing me well, like, I love data, I love analytics. It makes my job, I feel like it makes my job easier in what we're doing, and we get better results, faster results, as to say. That's my truth, right? But when a Barry Bonds is telling me, hey, the swing is down, not up, I agree as well. Like, who am I? So to hear some of your guys, like, it's polar opposites. You have your opinions, and one thing I've learned from you is just to embrace people's opinions and take what you can from them and go on. So who's been your favorite interview?
I always say Rich Hill, and I'll try and keep this story as short as I can, but Rich is starting in San Francisco, and we already have it set up to do the interview after his start. Well, Rich goes out and does a real small tear of his UCL. And as most of y'all know, Rich is in his 40s. Like, this is possibly career ending. And he is down in the dumps and really feeling it. And I say, like, dude, let's just delay it. Like, don't worry about it. He's like, no, I told you I'd do it. Let's do it. And it is the most candid and, like, emotional of an interview that I've ever done, and probably as emotional of a talk with another male that I've ever had.
Wow.
He had a son named Brooks who passed away of a rare disease when he was still an infant. So he tries to raise money for rare diseases in Boston. And then also he was in indie ball, came back to the big leagues, signed a big deal, taking care of his family. And I mean, he multiple times broke down in a cry in front of me in a podcast interview with his teammate. Not really what I was expecting. All the while he just tore his UCL and is staring the end of his career in the face. And you can just hear it in that interview, man. And it's amazing. I recommend anyone to please go listen to it, because Rich Hill is one of my favorite teammates and human beings I've ever been around.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when that happened, and looking at it, reading some articles, understanding him. I didn't know who Rich Hill was. I knew he was unique from his antics and the things that he did on the field, right? He seemed like for me, like my kind of guy I want to meet. But understanding what he was doing for research, the money that he was raising, and the foundations, it kind of paints a picture of what we think we know of athletes. And then to see who he really is like that really is incredible. And
it couldn't be more different from the on the field persona to off the field. I mean, he is screaming F-bombs and cussing out everybody he can on the mound, and then off the field he's happy-go-lucky and passionate about the things that he's obviously passionate about. But I mean, it's like a total 180 from one to the other.
Well, let's keep it going. Let's talk about you a little bit, and I want to go back to the beginning. I want to know about Ross Stripling in the Aggie days, man. And you kind of have a little unique story. I think people will picture you as this guy had everything bigger, stronger, easy coming to him, but it wasn't always that way for you going into A&M.
Yeah, the good old days, man. I tell you what, it is, once again, I'm long-winded, man, so you're going to have to cut some of this, and because it is a long story. But, you think of a big leaguer, he's probably been the best at every age from when he was 10 on, right? And that was not me. In fact, I didn't pitch until I was 18 years old. And the only reason I did pitch is I broke my leg playing basketball. I went to a Friday Night Lights type high school where football trumped everything. If you wanted to play football, you had to do off-season football. So baseball kind of took a back seat. And anyways, long story short, I do well as a senior, but not well enough to get any Division I offers. And I'm a third-generation Aggie. If you guys know anything about Texas A&M, my grandfather was a yell leader. My dad went to A&M. My uncle went to A&M. My brother was already at A&M, like bleed maroon. So I wasn't going to sacrifice
It
being
was
an Aggie to go play
predestined.
baseball.
Yeah, it's predestined where everybody kind of wanted you to go.
Yeah. But had no offer whatsoever to play baseball there. And I was not going to sacrifice being an Aggie to go play junior college baseball. So I'm with my dad. We're showing up for the new student conference just to sign up for my classes. I'm a normal person now. I'm going to be a college student. And my dad kind of is like, hey, let's just go see if the baseball coach is there. I'm like, no, like that just sounds cheesy, or like he don't want to talk to us. You can't just Joe Blow walk into the Division I baseball coach's office. Well, lo and behold, that's exactly what we do. And he's sitting right there. Googles me right in front of me, like, oh, South Lake Carroll, I know that's a good school. Let me see. Oh, man, looks like you had a good year. All right, I'll look into you and get back to you. Get a call maybe 2 or 3 days later. It says, hey, Nathan Uvalde just signed in the draft. We're going to give his scholarship money somewhere else. But if you want to walk on, we'll treat the fall as a tryout. You'll be on the team like a preferred walk on for the fall. And if you perform well, we'll think about keeping you for the spring season. That's how I joined the team.
That's incredible.
Yeah, wild story.
What year? I mean, what year did you know, like, hey, I could do this. I may be able to throw a ball and make a little money by doing this. I'm pretty good.
I tell you what, man, it was not until well into my junior year where I've basically heard from my first scout, right? I think it was a guy from Pittsburgh Pirates, and just asking me like, hey, what's your number? And I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, oh, if you want to, sign, what's your number? And I mean, dude, I got drafted in the 9th round as a junior, and it was totally out of the blue. I didn't have a advisor, quote unquote advisor, obviously an agent. I didn't even have one.
Yeah.
My name gets called in the 9th round by the Rockies, and the guy comes and sits with my family, and he's like, all right, we're going to send you to Casper, Wyoming. That's rookie ball. We see you moving, your college arm. We see you moving up quickly or whatever. And I had to like stop and be like, dude, I'm going back to school. I'm not signing.
Yeah.
He's like, what? And like was mad at me that I didn't sign. And go back to A&M, have a good year, senior year, and get drafted in the 5th round by the Dodgers. And anyways, to answer your question, really not until well into my junior year did I have an idea that professional baseball could be my future.
When you, hey, I have to stay on A&M for a minute, right? Because your buddy Daniel Mingden, our former co-host, at current, he's in South Korea living the dream, playing professional ball there. Shout out to him. But what was it like playing? What was it like playing in front of that crowd at A&M? They're ruthless, man. They come prepared.
Yeah, it's, I didn't get to play in the SEC. When I was at A&M, we were still in the Big 12, and it was far and away the best atmosphere in the Big 12. Not even close. I mean, and I know the SEC has some awesome atmospheres. I think like the guys in Ole Miss throwing out beers in the outfield when they hit homers. Like I wish I could have experienced that.
Yeah.
But in the Big 12, we blew everyone away because we have a true student set. 2,000 to 3,000 students a game that sit right above the opposing dugout, and they have set chants. You guys have probably seen like the ball 5, ball 6 stuff they do to the opposing pitcher if he throws that many straight balls. Augie Garrido, the coach for the Texas Longhorns, got a DUI in the offseason. First time they come play us at Olsen Field, they're dangling root beers on strings in front of the dugout in front of his face. I mean, they're prepared as, good college sports fans are. And it's intimidating for the other team to come in, but it's also a blast because they do it in good fun, and they're relentless for 9 innings. Aggies don't leave early. It doesn't matter if we're up 10 or down 10. The 2,000 students that show up are going to be there for 9 innings. And I tell you what, man, you take it for granted when you're there, and now I miss it because it's so fun.
What was it like being traded? I mean, I know a lot happened last year, with the Dodgers, and you get the call to go to Toronto. And for me personally, the fan of the game, right? I think I thought it was a good move for you. I know you necessarily didn't have a say so in it, right? But when it happened, I was like, man, this is a cool opportunity for you. Go to a new club, start fresh, and they need you. They need your arm for sure. What was it like, that process?
It is as overwhelming as you could really think, especially in a COVID season. My wife at that time was about 10 or 11 weeks pregnant, and we were laying low. She wasn't feeling very good. And all of a sudden I'm going from LA to Buffalo to join the Blue Jays. And, I think I could feel that my time as a Dodger was coming to an end. I wanted to be a starter, and I was starting to make that known. And there's some unbelievable talent there. Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin are guys already in the big leagues. There's a kid named Josiah Gray coming up and many more behind him. The innings as a starter for me as a Dodger were coming to an end. And me and Andrew Friedman, the GM and president of the Dodgers, have a good relationship. And I think that rather than move me to the bullpen, he said, you're a starter in the big leagues, and I'm going to send you somewhere where you have a better chance to be a starter. And I respected that. And that's exactly what he said to me.
Wow.
And, it's just such a huge change as far as one organization to the next. Florida spring training now versus Arizona spring training that I've only ever done. It's a young team, so exciting. And obviously you're seeing the moves we're making this offseason, like we're ready to win now. So as far as a landing place, it's amazing. I loved it. I mean, we played in Buffalo. That was kind of wild, but it's also kind of nostalgic being back in a AAA stadium. You're sitting in the stands and running down from the stands to warm up in the bullpen. And, the crazy things that came from that season, the New York Yankees coming to play the Toronto Blue Jays in Buffalo. How funny does that sound? So, but it was a whirlwind. I mean, it was 48 hours. From LA to Buffalo. Actually, I went from LA to Miami to meet the team. It happened very, very quick.
Did you have you been, you and your wife, you been to Toronto yet?
I went to Toronto my rookie year. I pitched her on Mother's Day. That was really cool and did well. I think I got the win, and but have not been back since. My wife has never been to Toronto, so we're hoping. It does sound like we're going to start in Florida. That's kind of seems to be what most people believe, but we're really hoping we're in Toronto by early summer.
Yeah, obviously with the pandemic going on right now, hopefully we get through this. But I'm gonna tell you, Ross, you're gonna dig Toronto, man. If they're crazy, me and my wife we've done it. Her family's actually from Buffalo, and Niagara Falls, we did it. So I was like, I've got to go to Toronto. I've got to see it. And you still feel like you're in America when you're there, and man, fell in love with it. I could see a Performance Edge Toronto maybe one day. Maybe.
Heck yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. You're, the 1,000th person to say that to me. I literally cannot wait to get there.
It's cool, man. Their fan base is wild too, man. I've heard some crazy stories.
Well, you got a whole country supporting your team. I mean, that's awesome.
That's it, man. Hockey and Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah,
that's it. So, no, and talk about you. I want to kind of go back now. I love your insight, and me. I'm a big advocate for high school baseball players and what they're doing. And right now in our world, man, it's chaos. Parents are looking for answers. What do we do? The goal in America, if you play baseball at 5 years old, they got 5U baseball, Ross, right? 5U, 6U organized baseball. I don't even know what that means, but it's right. Everybody has that dream of following in your footsteps. And I know we've talked about it before off the air. We've talked about it with a lot of guys. The process is crazy. A lot of baseball, a lot of summer ball, a lot of travel, year-round baseball. What are your quick thoughts on that? Where we're at with the game today?
Quick thoughts are, one, my Lord, how much it has changed in just the 12 years since I've played high school. And it felt cutthroat back then. I can't imagine now with the amount of information that gets circled around and specification and all that is happening in our sport, man. To be a 16-year-old player trying to find a place to play in college, I imagine is more stressful than it was even just the 10 years ago it was for me. And then how I really feel about it, man, is I can only speak what I did, and that is I played everything under the sun. I mean, at one point, I wanted to not play baseball and play tennis.
Really?
And my dad didn't let me, but I just wanted to try it. I even tried lacrosse for a season, but football, basketball, baseball, every year I played it. And that's the way to find out what you love, and that's the way to mix in different friend groups. I just think there's so many important things about being able to try different things. And man, I think if I would have only played baseball, let's say from 12 years old on, I would have been burnt out, man. Absolutely burnt out. Yeah. I can't imagine these kids getting private lessons like crazy. And if that's what you want to do at your 16, please do it. I'm not trying to dissuade you from it, but knowing how I was at 16, man, I would have hated baseball quicker than I can even explain.
It's a weird thing, we could have the argument back and forth about sport specialization, right? And a lot of times in baseball, it's it. And to me, what's being lost in that is the reason why. We have our summer program here, like a lot of DST, Fairchild, we all do these summer programs. And I love asking our athletes, why are you playing summer select ball? And it's not a knock on them. I want to know your reason why. And what seems lost is, the best answer that I can't argue is when a kid looks me in the eyes and says, because I love playing the game, because I want to go out there and compete. I don't hear that. What I hear is I got to get recruited. I've got to get exposure. And there's a lot of great select organizations in Houston, many options. And I just feel like the quick question is back to them is, are you ready to be recruited? And to me, it's just year round. It's playing. And so for the guys who really want to play the game at the next level, some of them aren't giving the opportunity or taking the opportunity to step away, use the game, assess where you're at, right? There's a standard. This is where I need to be to spin it at A&M. This is where I need to be to go to Texas or Division II. Work towards that. Get in the weight room, right? So to me, when you say playing other sports, you were developing your body as an athlete, and you were gaining athleticism that way, especially if you're playing tennis.
Yeah, the tennis days didn't really pan out, but no, I'm definitely with you, man. So I want to ask you this, is it just as much now, even in recruiting for college, what you see from a TrackMan and a Rapsoda as it is from the eye test? When I think of getting recruited, my teammates or whatever to college programs back in the day, for me, it was just a scout coming to you with the radar gun and saying like, all right, that kid's dirty before the game even starts. He's a grinder. I want him in my program. I mean, are there even really college scouts showing up to games anymore when now you can just get everything from a Rapsoda and a TrackMan?
Well, that's the big question. I mean, yeah, they're showing up, and what a lot of people, whether they want to hear it or not, I mean, a lot of times some of these college coaches are counting on it, especially some of the smaller schools. They get paid. They get paid to be at these events. Parents can take that how they want to, and they should be paid. I mean, travel, they don't have the budget. But at the same time, I mean, we were having this conversation, for a guy who loves data and Rapsodo and TrackMan, at the same time, does it play, right? So you go to a showcase model where the pitcher's throwing a bullpen, right? You got the 1% in high school who are 88 plus. They probably don't even need the showcase model, right? They're going to get seen, they're going to sign, and now we're signing these guys early, right? We're getting into the freshman, sophomore year, guys are committing. That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But let's say that 10%, where everybody goes to a showcase and looks around 85, 86, 86, 87, right? Well, great. Does it play? Is there pitchability there? What's his character like? What's his commitment like? What happens when he gets away from mom and dad? You don't see that in a showcase. And that's what matters, because some of these guys, maybe A&M's not recruiting them or Texas, but some JUCOs, they may take some guys like that. They're 85, 86. But Ross, you're not going to go sign a guy when you see him in a bullpen. Oh, it looks good. Comes out well. Comes out clean. Spins it well. That's all you know.
Yeah.
Does it play in a game? So one of my arguments, and I said this on an earlier podcast, was the importance of high school baseball in Texas. And I feel like my fear, and people laugh at me when I say this, but one of my fears, like in California, before the COVID mess that's going on, kids are not playing high school ball. Like they're just committing to their select teams, right?
Really?
Yeah. And some Northern Cal, right? And what's happening is, I'm not going to say whose side it is, whose fault it is, right? We're all part of this. Anybody that's with me, high school baseball select, we're all part of it. We've all created this monster. But I'm afraid that's going to slowly start happening here in Houston. All it's going to take is one dude, one arm to say, peace, I'm out. And next thing you know, that trend continues, because that's where we're at. But man, what would it be recruited? Think about it. If you go to a high school and you come and watch one of my guys, right? I'm coaching, you're recruiting, and I can say, well, you saw him in the summer, you call me up, and I'm like, hey, for junior year varsity, here's his stats. He gave us 90 innings, he pitched like this, he's a bulldog on the mound. Well, now that 85, 87 plays a little bit different than when you see him in a showcase.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
Just out of pure curiosity, in those California schools, are they not playing for the high school because they're worried about the usage, like the fact that they'll play shortstop on Tuesday and throw 120 pitches on Friday? Or I know I don't get seen as much in high school. I get seen more in the summer ball, travel ball stuff. I'm just going to stick to that.
I think what we've lost is it used to be, hey, I want to go to South Lake Carroll and I want to pitch. I want to make varsity and I want to go win a state championship, or I want to win district, right? I want to win for the name across my chest. Now, since college baseball has just been popularized so much, right? It's, I want to go to college. So they're 7th grade. What's your goal? College. What's your goal? College. All the way up. Nobody says varsity baseball anymore. And varsity baseball is kind of taking a back seat a little bit. Again, I don't think it's not the select coach's fault. They're providing, it's supply and demand, man. It's capitalism at its finest in our country. Yeah. It should be. They provide a great service and opportunity. But we are missing the opportunity to, high school, you go out there and you compete and you win at its purest form. And maybe your last chance to do it, really, before you get to that next level. And that's where it started with. And then it turns into the, well, don't go waste your time with the high schools. They're not being seen. You know, you're not developing there. The coaches don't know as much, which I think is a fallacy. I don't believe that. And I just don't like that trend. So, hey, I can tell you here, man, we're big on high school. We support, and even here we struggle. High school coaches, you know, some love them coming here, some don't. But we want our guys to go out there and do something and put some numbers, make it important. Commitment. You have to commit. Hey, Ross, I'll tell you this real quick. Opening, you know, a couple weeks ago, we had the first day of high school baseball season. And I had a parent call me and ask me, I actually had several parents call me. There was a showcase going on here in our city and on Saturday. Well, Saturday was the first day of baseball practice. What do you think about us missing baseball practice to go to the showcase? Absolutely not. Like, you've had all year long, you know, to do this. And for me, I'm like, look, you can give me any reason recruitability, but isn't commitment and the team, isn't that something a college coach is looking for?
100%. I was going to say the same thing. Like, if you were to ask Rob Childers, head baseball coach at A&M, like a top 5 attribute he wants in one of his players, commitment, loyalty is going to be one of them. I mean, no doubt.
Yeah, and I think the fear is that they're not doing enough. They're not being left behind. I mean, they're being left behind. And right now, man, with COVID, it's changed the game a little bit because look, this year, JUCO is getting a year back in 2021. As of right now, they've already declared, even if they play 40 games, they're getting it back. So what does that mean for the 2021, 22s, and 23 high school class? Right? If you're Rob Childress and you get a chance to recruit a guy, you going to go for the senior in high school who has no college experience, or are you going to take a JUCO guy who has 1 or 2 years of experience and he still has 4 years of eligibility? Who's getting that money?
Yeah, right. No, spot on. Yeah, the kid from JUCO. Plus, imagine how developed he's going to be when he's 26 and a senior.
That's the other side. We have a kid here, man, and he goes to UT Tyler, and he was at U of H. He's a hitter, outfielder, and wound up having an injury, and they wound up releasing him a year later. So he redshirted. He got sick his first year at mono, so he took a shirt. Then he had that injury, took a shirt, and then he got COVID. So he's like a senior in the classroom, like freshman. I mean, it's crazy, and he's not going to be a doctor. That's the sad thing. When he graduates, he's not going to be a doctor. So no. So let's spin it here. You brought up TrackMan, Rapsodo. You know, we use it here. I know that's big in the game, man. It's such a crazy argument, old school versus new school. I don't think technology defines somebody as old and new. I really don't. I can jump into it how we use it, but what are your thoughts? I mean, on technology, just talk about you developing, because a lot of people listening to this, they're training, they're developing. You're training and developing every day as well.
I feel like I'm the perfect guy to ask this because I got into professional baseball at the perfect time where I kind of came up as all the analytics also joined the game. Yeah. Right. I mean, at first was like spin rate, and for like 2 years it was spin rate. Then it went into like spin efficiency, vertical versus horizontal movement. Then whatever else is all there now. Right. Now we actually know, a slider should have X amount of vertical and X amount of horizontal, and bullet spin versus other kind of spin, and like all this stuff that you can get on the Rapsodo. And, has really come on in the last few years. Well, I've been in professional baseball since 2012. So, what blows my mind is now even the college kids are so well versed in the analytics and what the Rapsodo and TrackMan spits out and what they're looking at, versus I am still learning, because it's like kind of shows my age, I guess, like I know what got me to the big leagues using zero analytics. So I'm not going to all of a sudden dive head first into this. I'm going to kind of pick and choose what I want to see and what helps me. But then you have the Trevor Bauers and the Walker Buehlers of the world that are on the opposite end of the spectrum, who within 3 minutes of their outing being done, they have this printout of all sorts of stuff, man. And it might be, what's the one with your skeleton called? Kinetrax, I think.
Their like kinematic sequence, and
you can lay your skeleton over each pitch and see how your skeleton's moving. Then obviously you get the the analytics spit out with the spin. And anyways, man, what I've found is I just want to see consistency throughout outings and bullpens that my stuff is maintaining. And also I like using the slow motion cameras. Those aren't necessarily analytics, but that is modern baseball, man. If my changeup just is not coming out of my hand right the last couple of weeks for whatever reason, I can go find this bullpen where it was, and I got these slow-mo cameras, and I can see exactly how that thing was coming off my fingers and be like, oh, it's obvious, it's coming off this slightly different way. And man, like, you can use that stuff, but you can't get bogged down. You got to, I think you got to start small, find a few things that works, master that, and then expand your horizon from there. But just the fact that these like 18, 22-year-old kids are so well versed in it, man, just shows you where the game's going.
Yeah, I mean, and for us, like, if you would have came into Performance Edge, I mean, I've been doing this for over 10 years with Performance Edge. Like, 10 years ago, we weren't doing it, right? We had the cameras. And then 5 years ago, it's probably different. And so, kind of the same way, I've molded and went. If you asked me to go in and work a curveball with a kid, the Rapsodo is going with me. I don't even know if I can go the old school way anymore, right?
Yeah. I do love the pitch design stuff, man. I did it with my changeup in spring training. This last year, first spring training, the real one. And, what I chose to do was I threw my normal bullpen. So I threw like 25 pitches. And at the end, I said, hey, I'm gonna throw 10 changeups and let's work on it. And I got like 2 or 3 different grips that I've been trying out. Let's see which one, spins on an axis similar to my fastball, which one has better movement profiles, all this stuff. And we did the true pitch design stuff. And I tell you what, man, my changeup was great. It was my best pitch of the season when normally it's my curveball. My curveball wasn't sharp last season. I was giving up damage like crazy on my fastball. So I was using an unprecedented amount of changeups. Well, that pitch design in spring training gave me the confidence and the knowledge to know that this pitch can compete at the big league level. Yeah. And I loved it. And I'm going to do it again this this spring training coming up, because I've kind of lost it and I need to get it back. And I know that that's a way to get it back.
Yeah. I mean, and for in our setting, we're working with high school, college. I mean, obviously, with our pro guys, it's very similar to what you're talking and working now, but with the high school guy, you give him a dumbed down version of that, simple version. And so for me, when people are asking, like, man, on social media, like some of the old school guys, I mean, they're calling anybody with tech new school, so I guess I'll call them old, but they are blasting anybody with it. And so for me, I'll say, I like to see when a ball is coming out of a guy's hand and I can see on a fastball that it's 70% spin efficiency, right? And then I can take my camera and I can put it and I can see what the wrist is doing and how. I may have an idea because of repetition and years of doing it, but to give a young athlete, 16, 17 years old, he gets a visual feedback of it. And I mean, now they can look at the axis of the ball and go, oh, I'm doing this. Yep. Boom, make an adjustment on it. And to me, it starts to create feel. Where the old way we were doing it is, hey, you're probably doing this. Let's try to do this. It's just now we can do things. We can speed the process up. Do high school pitchers need to start jiving into spin rate and up? Maybe the 1%, but most of them don't. They're just not ready for it. So to me, like any technology, it's just how you're applying it and what you're using the numbers for.
Yeah, spot on. I think that it has to be used. I think you have to understand it. And there is good and bad. You can get lost, man. You can I've seen big leaguers get lost on the Rapsodo because, I mean, I kind of did it, man. We hired a guy, the Dodgers hired a guy from Driveline who came in, and I'm throwing a bullpen with him, and he says, hey, why don't you just rotate your fastball 90 degrees? And I do it. I go up on the horseshoe and I throw it instantly, maybe a couple hundred more RPMs and maybe 2 more inches of vertical rise or whatever on the fastball. It was hitting like 20, which I normally am in like the 18 range. So getting 20 is like elite. That's like Clayton Kershaw. So we're like, hell yeah, man. We just found this new fastball. It's going to be unreal. Well, I throw 89, 90 miles an hour. I got to be able to locate my fastball to survive in the big leagues. That's how I do survive. Well, with this new fastball, I was off just a tad, man. I could not consistently get it to like just above the belly button. I was living like just below the belly button. And in the first month of the season, I gave up 12 homers on this new fastball. But if the TrackMan was spitting out that this is the greatest fastball I've ever thrown, well, lo and behold, man, I couldn't get it where it needed to go. And these are big league hitters that can hit a bullet coming at you. And they were hitting my 90 mile an hour, good, quote unquote, good fastball, 450 feet. And I got to Blue Jays and went back to my old fastball, and I didn't give up a home run on a fastball.
That goes back to what we were talking about, the showcase, right? It's great. Exactly. It looks great. Pitchability, does it play? And no, I mean that's the game with it, again, I do listen to guys like Nolan Ryan. I love listening to them. Again, like I said, when Tony Gwynn says the swing is this, right? And to me, it's all how you interpret things. So how I feel about this. I'm kind of tired of the back and forth and the bantering, and it just kind of gets old. But whatever, it is what it is. It's not going away. Some of it's entertaining, man. For those of you who don't know, just get on Twitter, follow a couple baseball guys, get your popcorn, and sit back and relax and enjoy the show.
Spivey, how about flipping the interview on you here? You know, it was Whit Merrifield, you know, really good player for the Royals. The other day went on a good little Twitter rant saying that right now the game is valuing strikeouts and homers, right? So that's what guys are working on. We're working on filthy breakers, fastballs up in the zone, and the hitters are working on getting the ball up in the air, hitting home runs. So strikeouts are way up and home runs are way up. And the game, I think, is kind of suffering because of it. It's just not the baseball that we're used to watching for 130 years. And you're a guy that's in the trenches, man. You're teaching this next wave of kids.
Yeah.
Like, is that, and I'm not, Spivey, I swear, I don't care one way or another, man. That's almost what you have to teach, because that's what probably gets you to Division I baseball, and that's what gets you paid in professional baseball.
Yeah.
But do you see yourself teaching getting the ball up in the air and strikeout stuff? I mean, I guess in a way that's kind of what it's always been, but it's like big time highlighted right
First, I got to say thank you for asking that question. The answer is it's mixed, right? With high school guys, the answer is no, right? The answer is not. We're teaching guys to throw up in the zone, down in the zone, because typically that's not it. First, we got to get these guys recruited. You know, we have a lot of guys. Some guys are coming in with arm pain recovery issues. We got to address the issue. That's more important than anything else. How the ball's spinning out, right? And that is a problem, big problem that we're dealing with a lot of high school athletes. But even there, I mean, a lot of times it's velocity issues. Those velocity issues could be biomechanical. A lot of times we're seeing there's flaws in the body. They're not lifting. They're not strong enough. They don't create the force, right? So the programs that are putting out these guys with velocity, 6 weeks gain 2.5, 3 miles an hour, it's not real. It's not. Now, Ross, you and I, we could help a high school kid get more velocity just by, we could speed them up. 6 weeks, yeah, we can get 2 to 3 miles an hour speed up, but eventually it plateaus. So when it comes down to the analytics of it, it's the simple things that get there. One, what's the baseline measurement requirement for this high school kid to be recruitable? And we have to do some kind of projectability. How's the body? What can we do over a 1 year, 12-month to 2 year span? But then they've got to go out there and do it. And they're only with us 2-3 days a week in the facility. They've got to continue to apply it out there in the field, which is a struggle. With our hitters in high school, this is fun, man. Everybody, the launch angle just pisses people off when you say it. And so for the record, there's a launch angle on every swing. And I think it was Mookie Betts this past year. He hit a home run and the announcer goes, look at that. There's no launch angle on that swing. Like, if you hit a ball down, there's a launch angle. It's just a degree. Launch angle is no different than the radar gun. Great, he throws 90. Like you said, you have to throw it a certain way to be successful. What can you do with it in a game? So for me, I think where people are missing it, not that we have all the answers. Look, if you got a 150-pound high school kid who's got an exit velo of 83 miles an hour, and he's trying to get a 25-degree launch angle, that's a fly ball out every time.
Yeah.
So at the same time, if I've got a 6'3" high school first baseman, 240 pounds, and he's got a negative launch angle and an exit velo of 90, right? You can work with these kind of things. Hey, we need to get the ball up. We need to get the ball gap to gap. But so when you start thinking about it that way, Ross, the things I'm saying, is it really much different than what it was in the 90s? Gap to gap?
Right. No, it's just now we have like a printable visual thing that you can see that like puts numbers to those old school sayings that we had.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, we're still talking gap to
This
gap.
guy throws an invisible. You've heard that forever. Oh man, this guy throws an invisible. He throws 88, but no one touches it. It's an invisible. Well, no, that was probably just super high spin.
Well, you're talking about there. You talk about, see the old interviews of Hank Aaron, who, by the way, I must say, Hank Aaron is the most rest his soul, by the way, incredible person, but most underrated hitter of all time, man. I didn't realize the guy, he had over 3,700 career hits. Did you know that?
Never punched out over 100 times, I don't think.
That's crazy. 305 career batting average? Yeah. But I mean, you remember,
OPS to like 930 for his career.
you know why? You're hearing this guy in his interview say, I don't care what science says, that ball rises, right? I've stepped in the box and seen it. And there's something to that. And so, on your question, as we go, college guys, we get a little bit more in the detail. Pro guys, we go a little bit more into detail. And we had a pro guy in here. He's a young guy for the Detroit Tigers and good little lefty man, 93, 94. And we just started looking at his delivery. And before I start saying anything, I just started asking questions like, what do you want to be? What needs to change? What are your goals? Like, where do you want to go? How do we want to progress? And we just start looking at his stuff and going, and that's it. You just kind of start shaping it and saying, from what we know, if this pitch gets here, this is what we can do with it.
Yeah.
And that's it, man. And I don't know what the argument is, but there are a lot of people out there, man, who are just taking it and going, hey, these guys are hitting bombs. We launch it up. Let's go. But sometimes it's like, well, these are 220-pound professional athletes who lift weights for a living. I mean, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a weird time right now for our game.
One thing that I like that you just touched on, Spivey, is asking the questions to see that the kid has a plan.
Yeah.
And has goals and things he wants to achieve. Man, I'm 31 years old. I'm pitching in the big leagues. I still have coaches when I toe the rubber for a bullpen that say, hey, what are you working on today? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And if you sit there and you say nothing, like you seem like you got no motive, like you have no reason that you're working that day, man.
Yeah.
Every time you toe the rubber or step in the box, there needs to be a plan and an objective for that day to achieve. And it's cool to hear you ask that, because I think that's so important. And now I want a coach to ask me that for a bullpen so I can have, and it might be one thing super small, man, but that thing needs to be accomplished on that day.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the biggest deal when you're training. People ask, like, if I toot our horn, and the guys that, where you lift at, with Fairchild and those guys, the thing that I think that makes guys successful, whether it's in our area or across the country, is they're great at planning, and they're great at sitting with the athlete and showing them progression, right? It's in business. Hey, you start with an employee. This is where you're starting. This is where we see you, and you give them some sort of measurables to go. And for me, for young athletes, I think that's really important because they have high goals, man. It is serious when they say, I want to play D1 ball. I want to play at A&M, and we take that serious. But we have to start somewhere and then give them some sort of attainable goals and measurables to see progress. And if you're seeing it, you keep training. If not, you go back to the drawing board, or maybe it's not a good fit,
Yeah, spot on.
All right, shift the gears real quick and finish up here soon. Speaking of weird times in baseball, MLB, you had Arizona come out, the county came out and said, hey, we're requesting that Major League Baseball, says, let's postpone it. Kind of wait to the last minute. I believe the mayor, all the local officials signed it. And then we waited, like, oh, here we go again. MLB makes a request to the Players Association and says, hey, 154 games, we're going to start month back, right? Extend the season and full pay. I believe they were saying we're going to go universal DH and 14 teams in the playoffs. You're kind of a part of that, and y'all rejected it.
Yeah, so I was the backup union rep behind Justin Turner in LA, and then I expect to be involved with the Blue Jays because I'm passionate about it, and we're coming up on a CBA. We need as many guys involved as we can. So we had been expecting something like this from MLB's side for a while, and obviously it comes 2 weeks before report date, and they're using that as a tactic. But we had already turned down expanded playoffs for the DH. That had already been shut down by the Players Association. It's just not a big enough bargaining chip to give them expanded playoffs with the amount of TV revenue, gate revenue that they get, and how little of a share we get of that revenue.
Yeah.
The universal DH is not a big enough bargaining chip for us to give that to them. And then there's a ton of other language in that 154 game proposal that if we didn't reach 154 games, Manfred had a lot of power on what that meant for service time, for pay, and our salaries and all that kind of stuff. So we needed to change that verbiage and just say, no, it's full pay even if we get to 120 games. That's the agreement we're making.
Yeah.
And I thought the union, the Players Association, I thought we would counter propose and say, hey, keep everything equal, everything that we already have agreed to in the CBA. We'll push everything back and we'll play 154 games for full pay, full service time. That gives us another month to roll out vaccines, another month of information on COVID where we can put better protocols in place possibly. And instead we said no. And now we're planning to show up on time. And I tell you what, man, it worries me because as of now, we're recording this podcast February 3rd. We still don't have health and safety protocols in place. Obviously, nothing can start until we get those agreed upon on both sides.
Yeah.
And now it looks like the owners obviously don't want to start on time. And you're talking about MLB not wanting to start on time. How do we possibly expect that to happen?
Yeah,
when they obviously don't want to. So it's frustrating.
Let me paint a picture here too. So everybody, here's what's about to happen. You're about to have the fans now. We were a big part of it. They're about to be split. So you're going to have the fans. Some of them are going to be on the athlete side. A lot of them seems like are going to be the other side. All these millionaires and all these guys, they need to get up there and they need to play, and they're doing this. And it's a strategy move. It's public. Get the public behind it. Hey, we gave it to them. The county came out and said it. It's the players who don't want this. All right, strategic move. To paint a picture, though, we have a guy here, AAA guy, man. And if anybody doesn't know, go look up the salaries that these guys make down there, and it's not lucrative, right? And he's fighting for his career. Well, he also has his first child on the way. And he's going out early. His wife is in her third trimester. So this baby is going to be born, a spring training baby in Arizona, like fired up, like, birthright. Here we go. Well, he's set to leave next week and they have to drive. And now all this is happening. Well, he had to pay that deposit for that rental house, makes the phone call. Like, what do I do? Because guess what the rental house they're doing? I'm sorry. Like that's what it is. And so that's just one example of thousands of guys who were kind of thrown in limbo here and their lives are put on hold. And we had a feeling, and I told him, I said, I won't believe that spring training is there until the umpire says play ball and the first pitch is thrown. So it's just, you've had all year. I mean, for me, I've been saying since day one, in my opinion matters, but let's push it back. Whatever your beliefs of COVID are, push it back till the chaos is controlled. I thought the offer was great, but as soon as I saw the 14-team playoff expansion and the universal DH, it's like politics, man. There's always an agenda.
Right. And that player that you just described, the owners know that that's going on and they can use that as leverage, right?
Yeah.
And use those scenarios against us. And that's one thing that stinks is it feels like as players, we're always on the defensive. This was a good opportunity for that proposal for us to send something back. The offensive a little bit, maybe something back that we want to accomplish in this next CBA. Say, hey man, you want 14-team expanded playoffs? Here's our biggest bargaining chip that we want in this next CBA, and then we'll call it good. And I hate that it's happening out in the public like this, like it did this last summer when we were in quarantine. When we finally didn't even necessarily agree to that 60-game season, it was just implemented, and it was all over Twitter every day, Jeff Passan and Nightingale and these guys, getting information from different sides, and it was all out in the open, man. It stinks that we're the sport that's like that.
Yeah.
Even college football wasn't as bad as it seems like we are right now. It's frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, and we're all going through this, you're going on, a full year of it. And it seems like 2021 is going to be similar to 2020, unfortunately, but we're all facing it, man, and that's what's crazy. We're looking at it every day here and what we need to do and what protocols, and there is no right answer. I mean, I can go with that on both sides of it, even for the owners, MLB, and for the Player Association. But at the end of the day, take care of the players, take care of the families involved, and I think the public, they forget about that all these guys have families, they have kids, there's money, and there's things at stake for that, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Yep. Well said, man. We'll hire you for the union if you're looking for a side gig.
No, I don't see my family enough as it is. I love them. All right, so we're gonna finish it up here, man. Just a couple random fact questions about you. Fact questions, not fat questions. Sorry if I said that. What's your favorite hobby besides baseball?
It is the stock market, if that counts. I'm actually licensed. I got a Series 7 and a 66. If anybody knows what that is, that means I can actually take clients and invest their money, which I do for a company called B. Riley. So it's more of a job than a hobby. But man, if I'm not playing, like first and last thing I do every day, check the market, see what it's doing, make some trades. I love it.
That's awesome. I'm going to say this now. It's not one of my questions. Do you agree in the phrase "Father knows best"?
100%.
Because
Yeah,
what I've learned in this podcast, if your father didn't tell you what you were going to do and what's best for you, we wouldn't know Ross Stripling because you'd be out there trying to be the next Pete Sampras. And I don't see that. And then secondly, you wouldn't have walked into Childress's office. Like, your dad, make sure, like, thank you to your dad right now for saying, hey, father knows best, get your ass in there and go meet this coach. Otherwise, you wouldn't be going to Toronto or Florida, Buffalo, wherever we're going, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know what? I'm gonna call him when we hang up this podcast and reiterate. You know, I probably haven't said it enough as I need to over the years. So you've motivated me.
I'm sure he knows. He knows. And lastly, you're gonna be a dad soon.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah. So that story that you just about the guy that works out with you could have very well just been me. We're due February 18th. We got a son coming, and I'm going to be a few days late to spring training. In a normal year, you know, I could probably fly out the 10th and get a couple days into spring training, show my face, and then fly back. But with COVID stuff, you know, I can't get off a plane and get in that hospital room. So I got to stay back, have our son, make sure everything's good with mama, and then I'll head out to Florida and join
Well,
the
you
team.
asked me you asked me a question about pitching and how it's applied. I have a 3-year-old son. I have my son Charlie turns 1 here in a couple weeks. You have any questions? Free advice, my 2 cents right here.
Gosh, yeah, I'm gonna have to text you off air a list of questions. The only one that comes to mind now is what everyone keeps talking. Is there really as little sleep as they say? And it's the first thing everyone says to me is, "Man, get your sleep now."
Yes, it's
Okay.
incredible how these kids. So for me, I get home late, and my biggest fear. I mean, my dad was a big presence in my life, and family's first, right? I work to provide for my family, so that's why I spend the hours I do here. One of my biggest fears is not being present, and so we got to the pediatrician as he's 1 year old. You know, it's like, hey, we keep him up kind of late. Where everybody else is going to bed at like 7:30. My son's going to bed at 10:30 at night. You know, because dad's home, we're wrestling, we're dad things, right? Guy things. And the pediatrician was like, it doesn't matter. Their clock is their clock. However, when they start going to school, Dad, I need the hours to be different. You're going to see the kid because I want him in bed by 8 o'clock, getting his 12 hours of sleep. But it's a crazy, man. If I go to bed at midnight, 1 a.m., my old ass, dude, I've got to sleep in. We've stayed up watching Paw Patrol. We're watching these shows. He wakes up at 7:30 on a dime.
Yeah.
And it's a great experience, man. I'm really, like, all the things you do and pitching in Toronto, like, I can't wait to see you as a dad. And it really is the greatest thing I've ever experienced in my life. So you think pitching in front of 40,000 fans screaming your name is incredible. Wait till you hold that baby here in a couple weeks.
Man, got me fired up right there. I can't wait.
Yeah. Hey, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and means a lot to me. And, you know, I think the world of you, man. You're a hell of a guy. You're I don't even feel like I know you as a pitcher, man, just as a person. You're an incredible guy. And I appreciate your time today, man.
Spivey, appreciate it, man. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Good luck.
I see the crystal raindrops fall, and the beauty of it all is when the sun comes shining through to make those rainbows in my mind when I think of you sometime, and I want to spend some time with you.